I hope to share with you my vision about how to use immersive technologies for have a good impact on society. And I will start with some slides just to introduce you briefly my company and the way we work and some projects we are working, and then we dive into the topic. And feel yourself free to interrupt me whenever you want. I really like to have some, you know, an interactive chat instead of just do a monologue. So let me share the screen. Okay. Okay, so can you see the slides?
Yes.
Okay, so the name of my company is It Is The End, which might sound a little bit creepy, but and we are creative and multicultural digital agency based in Brighton, United Kingdom. We have a very multicultural team. So now our core team is composed by six people coming from 5 different countries. And we upscale really easily using our network of freelancers. And we use smart working as the only way to work together since the beginning, because as a founder of my company, I really like to give to work with people that I really appreciate, with smart people, without looking necessarily to people that live close to me. And I also do believe that with our kind of a project and work, we do not necessarily need to stay in the same room, as we also do not need to have a shift schedule or work in the same hours. I really like my team to be just committed to the deadlines, but then work freely with their time. So as long as we deliver the project and we have a good communication, I really do not want to impose people to work from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. I mean, I worked with that logic for over 20 years, and I do not want to be the evil boss that, you know, steal freedom from people. So we try to keep it to keep a nice working environment, and we really encourage diversity, and we work on the same level. So clearly the company is mine, so the final decision in the end is mine, but I really want everyone to be involved in every step of the process and the projects. The company was founded 2 years ago, 2 years and a half, and this is our actual client list. We spent the first 2 years doing just business development. So try to get in touch with different companies in different countries and in different markets to try to bring innovation and these new technologies, mainly VR, AR, and mixed reality, to different markets and different people. My way to pitch virtual reality and augmented reality project is to go there, meet the people physically, and place the Oculus Quest or HTC Vive on their head and show them a prototype that is somehow related to their brand or organization. I find this way maybe a little bit more expensive because I have to travel, but really much more efficient, because maybe is one of my limitations, but I really cannot describe virtual reality or augmented reality through slides or presentation. And so I show you this clients list, not for show the clients, but just to show that we really want to work with different markets. So we have really things that are kind of opposite between each other, like the luxury market and a charity organization, but there is a reason. So this is the list of our main services. So we design and develop XR solutions, so virtual reality, augmented reality, and mixed reality. I would say more virtual reality and augmented reality rather than mixed reality. And before COVID, we were working a lot inside the events business with installation, projection mapping, and using immersive technologies to drive customer engagement. Then obviously we like to develop games, and we have a couple of titles out, and we are working on many more. But we like to develop games that also give some educational content or teach something about history or any other topics. So we want to amuse people, but we also want to deliver some content. And we have some app developer to develop, classic mobile apps. And we used to develop also companion app to some of our projects. So maybe we have some VR experience that can also have a companion app on smartphone and interact together. So these are our main VR project that we are working on and that we going to release from the next month to the end of 2022. Basically, all of these projects have a kind of social desire to have a social impact and to bring some healing to people. So we start with Anywhere Else. That is a virtual reality project to improve life quality of patients during cancer treatments. This is a project that we already developed and we are in the testing stage. So we already used the project with many patients, and we really like the feedback. So I will talk more about this project later. We have another project that is called Future Mama VR. And this is a VR application plus a mobile companion app that is targeted to pregnant women. And it's really nice, and we think can really improve the pregnancy experience, especially now during COVID, with all the quarantine and isolation problem. Then we have Democratized Learning, which is a VR learning platform. And I will talk about that later. In the end, we have a VR Senpai, which is a VR application to treat isolation, and is a project that we are doing for Japan, for the Japanese market, because the main target are people affected by the hikikomori syndrome, which is a real social problem in Japan. But I can see that it's becoming a social problem also in Western countries. So now let's jump into the main topic of this talk. So why VR can change the world in a good way. We believe that VR can create bridges between people in terms of geographical distance, because you can go in another world together and you can have interactions, but also because of the huge and massive emotional power that VR can convey and generate in people. We also believe that this can create bridges between people from different level of society and different background. And why do I believe that? Is because 2 years ago, I had an event inside Harrods in London, which is luxury mall, probably the most expensive place in London. So, and it was a VR experience for a luxury brand, and I was kind of scared about using virtual reality with this target of people, because they are not, the kind of people that usually are really interested in emerging technologies. So it's maybe easy to sell an iPhone 12 to them, but ask them to wear a VR headset, I was not expecting anything good from that. And I remember clearly that I was there waiting people to try the experience. And I was seeing all these people looking really bored and sad, like they were not even enjoying the shopping experience. But when I placed at the time I was using the HTC Vive, so the headset was also heavy and not really comfortable. But as they started to experience virtual reality, every one of them started immediately to smile. That was the 100% feedback from everyone. Everyone was really forgetting about anything else and just enjoying the experience and going back to that kind of childhood feeling. So that was really a good moment for me, not just because the client was happy, but because I started to see the big power of this technology, the big emotions that you can convey. And so that was the moment when I started to think, okay, what can I do with this power? I can just keep going, amusing people, or maybe I can try to do something more meaningful, like try to use this positive energy to give relief to people that are going through bad times. And obviously, every one of us, when create project and take decision, always do that because of their personal experience and backgrounds. And because I had experience with cancer, that was an immediate connection, because I was remembering doing chemotherapy session, how boring it was, and I was feeling depressed, lonely, and not in control of my life anymore. So I started to expand my network, looking for people working in a cancer treatment with doctors, oncologists, and I found a business partner that is still my business partner, and she's a researcher in cancer. And we started to create a project that aimed to use virtual reality to help people that are going through cancer during a chemotherapy session. And I'll show you now the video of the project so we can talk more about that. So let me just share the video. And so let me share again the slides. And so we decided to create this project, and this project that is called Anywhere Else. Basically bring the patients anywhere else during the treatment. So they wear the headset and they can access different scenarios. You can imagine like a content platform like Netflix, so they can go in many places. And they can also create their own place. They go through a series of questions, and then the engine create a unique scenario based on their choices. And what is important is that they can really do whatever they want inside the application. So they are back in charge of their life. Because when you have cancer, when you get the diagnosis, obviously you feel sad, you feel lonely, you feel scared, but it is something linear. So it's really just a consequence of something. So they tell you that you have cancer and you feel sad and miserable, and that's fine for your brain because it's a logic message. But what people usually do not know is that when you get diagnosed with cancer, except for some specific type of cancer, it's not that you really feel bad. But when you start to go through therapy, like chemotherapy, this is when the things become really hard, because chemotherapy is really strong, and even if you are in your 20s, you start to lose control of your body and everything change. And this is what really put you down, because you are receiving a treatment and a medication that is supposed to make you feel better and is doing something good for you, but you are feeling every day worse because you have a lot of side effects. And this is something that mess up your brain, because there is a contradiction in go through healing with a lot of pain. And so we really want to distract people and bring them anywhere else and give them back control on their life, even if it's just in a digital world. But this is a safe environment where they can really just relax and look around, or they can decide to change everything inside. So they can change the mountains, they can be like a god inside this experience.
Just want to make a quick comment, Stefano.
Yeah.
This is great. Kudos to you for helping this. Pain management with VR, one of the very first applications was for children going through chemotherapy, and it's been very effective. You may want to check out some friends of mine at the Virtual Reality Medical Center in San Diego, California. They're doing it also. It requires skill besides the distraction that you mentioned. It also needs some secret sauce to get the emotions going, which you've also mentioned. But it's incredibly effective and has been used for kids in chemotherapy, and it's magic to watch them going from terrified to going with the therapy and getting more benefit from it.
Yeah, I agree with you, and please send me in the chat the contact, so I will surely get in touch with them. And
sure, I've got Yes, will do.
Yeah, then at the end of the talk, I will leave my contact so everyone can find me on LinkedIn and drop me messages by email. So yeah, sure. That was the amazing experience we had, and we are still having testing it on patients. And because it's really delicate, like you mentioned, because there are several factors to take into account.
Super.
I'm working on the development, but I'm working with doctors and psychologists, because obviously, it's not that you can bring patients on the roller coaster. So we try to do something that can really have, give the kind of healing that usually they have from a combination of meditation and respiration and many other collateral therapies that usually they can do. Obviously, it's different from country to countries, because now I'm working in UK, and they have a lot of alternative therapies that patients can have access, but directly from the NHS, which is the UK entities for the health system. While in Italy is completely different, in Japan works in another way. So, it's really difficult, and it's a complex project. It's challenging, but as you say, is absolutely rewarding to see the patient that is benefit from that, is feeling better. And as you can see in this slide, we conducted the test on over 100 patients, and they give us this feedback that they was feeling a reduction of pain from 40% to 80%, and feeling better and more positive. And we really believe, and I also believe, because I went through that positive attitude play a big role in the healing process. Because when you feel yourself positive is when you start to make plans about the future. You never think about the future when you are sad and miserable. You usually think of the future when you feel better, even slightly better, but it's a step forward.
One more quick comment. Just to show you just to mention the range of what's possible in pain management, I met through the virtual reality medical center. I met a doctor in Mexico City who's out in the wilds of Mexico, is doing surgery on people. He's like cutting them open with and removing bad things with just local anesthesia. There's no electricity, so he can't bring an anesthesiologist. So as he's operating on the patients, they are off in Machu Picchu with virtual reality headsets. They're not just watching things, but interacting with ancient Incas and so on. So they're emotionally involved. But so he's doing surgery with no anesthetic, no overall anesthetic, using virtual reality. And he said, not only is it saving lives, but the patients come back, that is, recover in hours, whereas a full body anesthesia, it takes weeks to fully recover. So that's just an example of the possibilities of this that you're working in.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's why I really love these technologies, because basically you can create whatever you want, because you create worlds and universes, and you write down the rules, and so you can really create the perfect scenario to treat almost everything. I mean, we do a lot of tests for mental problem and phobias. Like I suffer vertigo, and but I noticed that I was able to train myself to to feeling more confident, just going in a VR experience where I walk on a higher platform time by time. So when I feel, confident in walking 1 meter from the ground, then I move higher to 2 meters. And because it's really immersive and your brain is engaged, and nowadays the tracking is awesome. So you really are there. And when you walk, you are really walking. So there is no lag, no motion sickness if you develop a good software, obviously. It's really improving it's really sorting out one of my problems. And another of my fellow teammates is really cannot stand in closed spaces. And so we did the same. So we started from a very big room, and then he can downscale the room 10%, 10%, and he really now feel confident. So we use ourselves to test the project, but it's really incredible what you can really do now, bringing people into an immersive and realistic simulation.
Very cool. I use that tight space also for scuba diving when diving into caves, and some training to not be afraid of that. It really helps. Here's a quick picture, by the way, of me. If you can see it, do you see my license plate?
Avatar, okay.
Yes. Avatar.
Very cool.
So that's my credentials. Thank you.
Okay, so I move forward, and let me. Okay. So yeah, move on. This is another project that is called Future Mama, and basically this idea was born during the first lockdown, because the doctor I was working with, she was pregnant during the first lockdown. I mean, she was pregnant before, but she was near to give birth during the lockdown. And so she had a lot of stress because she cannot join groups and all the class of people for the breathing techniques, and to share and talk with other pregnant ladies, to share anxiety about the future and every kind of thing that that comes in her mind, because this was her first pregnancy. So there is a lot of emotional stress. And so she was starting to feel relief with meditation in VR. There are so many nice applications where you can have guided meditation in VR. And so we decided to create this product that really is like a companion for the future mama, and they can have the application when they discover that they are expecting a baby, and the application provide a timeline with the milestones of the 9 months, and they can access a lot of educational content, scientific and not, about everything you need to know about becoming a mom and having your first son. And they obviously have some meditation and some games also to have fun. Like they can access the baby room, and they can start to place furniture and everything. Usually, parents, when they're expecting a kid, they start to think about. And most important, everyone that is using the application is connected, so they can talk together. They have their own avatar, And so mom, they can go together in the same place, have a virtual baby showroom, baby shower, so sorry, virtual baby shower, and have a conversation about everything. So they can get rid of the loneliness. And obviously, this is really more effective using VR rather than just having an application where they just read stuff like if they are browsing on Google. Yeah, so these are some data and statistics that VR has a positive effect on the birth experience. There is a study that tells that headset reduce pain for 50% during childbirth and anxiety up to 100%. And we partner up with a hypnobirthing doula, so they can also have a private session. And that's it. So, but we also have a kind of a mission, like an impossible mission that we are really keen about. So what's the big challenge? For us is about the relationship between 20% and 80%. I think that many of you are familiar with this relationship. That is that 20% of the people control 80% of the wealth. And obviously there is not much that we can do because we are just a small company, and it's not that you can really change the way the world is working from centuries. But I was thinking about that, and I was thinking that in my life I was lucky to be born in a country like Italy. You know, I was born in Europe, so I can have access to a lot of resources. So I can go to school. There are so many universities, so many museums to expand my creativity, and you know, you can have food and you can have a nice childhood. So you have that kind of life with a lot of possibilities. Even myself, that I was born in a, you know, not in a rich family, but in a working class family, I was able to go through my life in a very traditional way. So going to school, and after school, finding a job, and the classic. But when I think about other countries, like the development countries and third world countries, most of the time I think that you know, I was just being lucky, and it's kind of a lottery, because you do not decide where you're born. But now we can try to bring some of these resources and possibilities also in places where usually they do not have, because it's a long-term process to build a technical school, maybe in Africa or in some of the Southeast Asia countries. But it's much more easy to send them 20 VR headset with a lot of high-level educational content inside that they can use in their school. And that's why we created a project that is called Democratize Learning. And democratize is not related to politics, but it's just to give to all the people access, you know, to play all together by the same rules, not someone with more, you know, more privilege. And that's why we decided to use this number, but in a different way. So now for every project we do with our company, we take 20% of the profit and we use it for a charity project. Because 20% doesn't have a big impact on your life, on your company. If you think, you know, how much you spend every month for food, if you take out 20%, you can make a big difference. But obviously, it's just our decision. It's not that I'm, you know, expecting other people to do the same, but it's working for us. And so we are going very soon to send back to a development country the first bunch of VR headset with a lot of educational content inside and see what happens. And this is because we also believe that, and we notice when we work on a project that the only way to change the outcomes of something that is already solid, and this is a tradition, is to change the process. Whenever you are stuck in something, like you feel that you reach the top of your quality and your company seems not able to expand, or even you think that you are not improving in your skills, you just have to try to change the process that you use to do things, and you will surely change the outcome. So this is our tip of advice. And about using technology to have a social impact, I was mentioning at the beginning another project, so I go very quick back on the slides. Okay. And this one, VR Senpai, this is a project we are doing for the Japanese market. It's, you know, the inspiration comes from people suffering the hikikomori syndrome. And the people with the hikikomori basically are the people that stay apart from the society, and they develop addiction for video games, technologies, and there are a lot of problems related to this syndrome. But nowadays, the actual treatment is the same treatment for every kind of mental disease. So they go through therapy, and but society seems to blame them. So they are seen like lazy people, and they never take too much into consideration the addiction, the real addiction that they have with technology. And so we decided to try to treat this addiction like you usually treat a drugs addiction. If you think at someone addicted to heroin, you also work using drugs for the treatment. So you downscale the drugs and you use methadone, and you try to bring them out from the addictions using the foundation of the addiction. Obviously, also with psychotherapy and whatever. So we decided to use technology, so their addiction, to bring them out. And we created this application that is still in development, where they can enter, and they found 2 virtual friends. Senpai is a Japanese concept, and basically the senpai is the older students that is like your big brother, like your mentor. And so they meet these 2 guys, a boy and a girl, and with a series of interactions and gamified experience, they try to bring the kids back to life. So we are using the games to bring people out from the games. And because they are addicted to technologies, we obviously need to implement some limitation in the application. Otherwise, they will stay with these virtual friends forever, and we do not want that. So they can stay and meet the virtual friends just a couple of hours every day, like in normal life when you hang out with your friends. And also there is a community side of the project, because it can be a big shock to go out from your room if you have this kind of problem. So this needs to be done with the small steps. And so people using this application, they at the end of the process where they already accomplished all the steps, they are invited to join a private event with other people suffering the same problem. So we bring them out into society, but in a really safe environment. So step by step. And this is probably our most challenging project, also, especially now that we cannot go to Japan. So I hope that these COVID things will be over so that we can work on that. But this is what just to you know, to talk about using VR also for mental issues. Well, that's basically everything I have to say for today. Yeah, and I will close my speech now with my best tip, that is be always a student and be always a mentor. And this is one of the main rules of our company. So be always willingful to learn, because there is always something to learn, and you can always improve and learn from the others. And be always a mentor, not an arrogant mentor like that you think that you really know everything, but share the knowledge. Because when you share the knowledge, you share ideas, everyone grows and everything become better. And also there is another small tip that I learned working in big companies, that ego-based decisions are dangerous. So never take a business decision based on your ego. If you want to show off, well, that usually cannot bring you in good places. And so that was my presentation. And so I thank you for that. I hope you have questions that we can discuss and have something more interactive. You can see more about my company going on the website, on Instagram, and on my LinkedIn. I think you can find information on the newsletter that Dominic sent. And I come back to you.
Yeah, any questions? Yeah, Chris, if you want to ask, go ahead.
Sure. I have a comment on both medical and the luxury market. You may want to check out L'Oreal, the makeup people. They have a huge, very successful program with AR, where you look at they do a capture of your face, and then you can try out different lipstick, different makeup, different hair colors. And as you turn your head, it stays with you. And it's been very successful sales tool, because in stores, you can't put on makeup anymore. So they now, either in the store or at home, have customers putting on, trying their products virtually, and buying them. So I'm sure that can be applied to other things as well. If you ping me, I can give you a link to that. The other thing for medicine that's very interesting now is telementoring, again with AR, where somebody like an expert is looking over your shoulder and helping you as if you're emergency medical or whatnot, looking over your shoulder and helping you with different medical procedures. So the possibilities are amazing.
This is something we are doing not for the doctors, but for the students, because we are now pitching the Imperial College in London. So it's not a real deal now. Basically, we are working for free, but we create, because now with the COVID, students cannot access any more labs, especially if they're studying medicine or something, that really requires a lab. And even before COVID, big universities do not have, many labs. I mean, they have thousands of students, and maybe they have 10 labs. So every student can maybe book 1 hour or 2 every month. And so we created this virtual lab where they can try everything they have to do for the assessment before going into the real lab. Also because in virtual reality, you have a safe environment, so you can also experience all the troubleshooting and the health and safety situation. You can set the lab on fire and explain people what to do, and also you can virtually break expensive machines, so they know how to fix them, and it's something that you will never do in your life. And even not going too much extreme, you know that if you are if you're studying medicine and you have to do something that is about DNA sequencing or stuff like that, where you have to use biological tissue, unless you are really confident, you are scared to try new things, because you can waste the materials, and you are afraid of committing mistakes. So trying and practicing into a virtual environment increase their chances to pass the assessment, because they are much more ready, and it gives them much more confidence about what they are doing. And also they can have the shared experience with the mentor. So they have a virtual classroom where there is the teacher inside the lab that show the procedure, and they can interact together. So they can have this kind of engagement that usually is impossible to have in a physical lab, because you cannot have 200 people inside a room. But in a virtual reality shared experience, the student doesn't see the other students, but just see the teacher. So the teacher is teaching to 200 people, and maybe even more, that can practice. And because it's, virtual reality is like a game, so you can track everything. They can track performances, which is really useful for students to see the improvements, but also for the teacher, from the teacher side, to see the effectiveness of their teaching. And this is also related on how much virtual reality is good for training activities, industrial training or whatever, because I work a lot with in the medical field, but from the technical side of view, not with doctors, but with companies that create maybe DNA sequencing machines. And they have obviously engineers that create all the protocols for this machine to work, but they are not doctors. So sometimes they create a process that is not really effective and is complicated, but they do not have a real way to get a feedback about that, because if it's complicated, people maybe do not use it and go for the machine of a competitor that do the same stuff but in a very easy way. And giving them the training in virtual reality make them confident to try everything. And the company that produced the machine, they get all the statistics and analytics. And if they see that 300 people are getting stuck on the protocol number 7, means that the protocol number 7 is wrong. So they have to ask a feedback and maybe write it down again, and so they can, improve the quality, the support to clients. So really, I think that VR, AR, we are more focused on VR, but obviously we like AR, but we cannot do everything. So I would say, even if it's not a good pitch for my company, that we are really skilled in VR, but we are just beginner intermediate in AR. But we need to expand and bring more people in, because if you want to, achieve and provide your clients a good level of quality, you need people. I mean,
Understood. For product development or game development, like you're talking about, VR is awesome. It's amazing. And you also mentioned one thing people don't appreciate, that confidence factor. You can train people with videos, but they don't get to explore. They don't get to do what is very basic to human learning. And as an example, Walmart, which is an American chain of stores, is training 1 million employees with VR.
I read an article about that.
Yeah, with 17,000 sets of Oculus Go. And I talked in 45 different job categories, everything from soft skills like greeting people at the door to hard skills like operating forklifts. So your democratization can work there, because they can try their hand with other skills with their VR headset. And I talked with the vice president in charge of that program. They tested it for 2 years and they love it. And they said, besides learning and saving 80% on their training costs, it's making the people more confident. They love it. There's a magic element of confidence in there that doesn't come with other forms of learning.
Absolutely, because, training in VR through interaction is basically mimic learning. And is the way we learn since we are kids. You learn by imitation and doing things, because that's the way. And this is, if you think, this is the way how machine learning works. So now, the big topic are machine learning and AI. And now the machine learning tools works through mimic learning. So you teach the program and the robot through your movement. So it's clear that interaction is the best and efficient way to learn things, because it's more persistent in your brain. You cannot learn to play an instrument just watching YouTube videos. I mean, you can watch hours and hours of people playing violin and teaching you how to play violin, but unless you take the violin and you start to make awful sounds, you cannot get any better. Yes, getting confident is so important, not just for the level of your performance, but for the quality of the life of the worker. Because when you are confident in something you're doing, you are obviously more happy because you get satisfaction, you do not have the fear elements, and you are more willingful to grow, to try new things, because you feel better in your role. So why not try to go higher?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm absolutely super fond about virtual reality and new technologies, not just for games. I'm a big fan of games, but why not making learning something funny? I mean, you can enjoy learning. I always enjoyed studying because I'm really curious. But obviously, some of the way we teach people in the school, in the university, and when we teach people also to do a job are really boring. I mean, people can fall asleep because it's the same way, but new generation evolves. Because when I was 20 years old, even just watching a video was a wonderful new experience to learn something. But now, new generation, they are born with smartphones, interactivity, so you cannot teach the same way like 100 years ago. Heritage is important, so obviously all the knowledge must be held, and you have to keep teaching all the important things and all the culture and whatever, but you just have to teach in the proper language. Now people speak a different language and there are different resources. So smartphone is not the devil. It's not just, wasting your life on Instagram or on social media. And also with social media and Instagram, you can provide content. So, then is people-based decision. They can decide to go for good content or bad content, but at least you know that you are providing content that is accessible to everyone. And about augmented reality, I really think can improve the experience inside museum and exhibition.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I go to a museum, they just show you things, maybe with some video and a long list of things to read, but every people look at a piece of art, or let's say that we are going to a war museum. If I am a kid, I just want to see airplanes and something exciting. If I am just someone that have a low interest in war, then it's fine just to see the normal exhibition. But if I am someone that is really knowledgeable about the history of war, maybe I want a deeper level of content. And with augmented reality, obviously you can interact with the content and you can choose the level of content that you want. And I think this can really improve every kind of experience in museum and exhibition.
Yeah, I talked with the British Museum in London, and they told me they had tried an augmented reality program making dinosaurs come alive and charged money for it, and it was financially successful. I talked with the Smithsonian Museum in the US, and they're looking into that as well. So that's an interesting market. As you said, for education, just a quick comment, the virtual reality has been shown to be incredibly successful, especially in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics learning, where people can, as you said, learn by doing, get their hands on, learn physics, learn chemistry. It's amazing to watch kids learn that way. The big problem with that right now is, which has been shown in research in the UK as well, is that there is no learning program for teachers. Teachers don't know how to use VR in a classroom, how to use it, how to test with it, and whatnot. And the research in the UK, in fact, showed that teachers are afraid of using game-based learning to teach, because they think the kids will know more than they do. And there are no master's programs in using VR to teach for this incredible potential. So if you ever stumble across funding or classes for teachers to use this, that's a giant hole right now in learning. The only area where teachers are actually taught how to use it, which I've done a lot of, is for the military. In military, I always made sure to put in T3, train the trainer, to teach them how to use it. So the military has spent a lot of money on that, but K-12 or K-16 schools have not yet.
But it's really difficult to, because as you said, they are afraid to change their way to teaching. So it's really fighting a giant. But I think that everything will be easier next year Also because lockdown really pointed out that we are not ready for teaching remotely in Western countries. I mean, I saw something really horrible, like, 1 hour lesson a day is not interactive. So people are, students, most of the time, they just waste days of learning. So, but the next year, the VR, I think will explode, because now you see Oculus Quest, the second version is really cheap. I mean, now the technology is really accessible. It's consumer, because it costs half than a smartphone. So, and because the player in the game are Facebook and HTC, obviously, they can push everything.
Yeah.
And if Apple join the party, Apple can make you use whatever they want, even if you don't need it. So
Let's hope we can find funding to train the trainers, that is to train teachers how to use it. With the inexpensive Oculus Go's are $150 or less, and Quest 2 is wonderful. So we have this potential, and the dirty secret about distance learning right now, what they're doing with schools, it's a disaster. Is an absolute disaster. The kids are dropping out. They're not learning. They need something like this. They get out of the school classroom to go play video games on their PS5. If you could have the classroom on VR, that would change everything.
Absolutely. And I think that the key to win this challenge with the teacher and the old way of teaching is to find a way to reward the teachers that are evolving. Because obviously, is extra work for a lot of people, and it's not that teachers get these big salaries. So maybe they are already pissed off by their life and the school they're working. So I think we always need to reward and appraise people that are improving the quality of their job, and not just putting pressure on that. So it needs to be an operation made by different entities. So can be complicated, but I think this is the future. And also even just organizing events and roadshow where you can show teachers the VR and what they can do, because they will start to enjoy, I think, and let's see what happens. And for the learning, yeah, exactly. You can make people interact and learn faster, every kind of topic, and also you can make understand something really complicated, because one of the project I'm working under the democratized learning logo is a project that I'm doing with quantum physician, which is also a ballerina. So is Dr. Merritt Moore. She's really great. And we were talking about how quantum physics is really interesting, because it's super cool. I mean, every concept about quantum physics is so cool, but it's also taught in a very boring way. I mean, you can really fall asleep when you read a book about quantum physics, and it's complicated because it's more philosophy rather than science. And you can spend hours about talking about the entanglement and everything, and at the end you might see people just staring at you like nodding, yeah, but clearly the message doesn't go through. But it was really effective to try the entanglement inside VR, so to bring people inside a quantum world, so you can really see what are particles, what are waves. And so you can really, I can imagine a kid, you can really teach quantum physics to a kid 6 years old, and his brain is going to grow like this in 1 minute, because they, their brain can absorb everything. So you can give them access to a lot of level of content, because not all the kids are the same. Because I was curious when I was in my primary and secondary school, I really wanted more homework and to know more, because it was like watching a TV series. So it was always like, okay, what's next? I want to know more. And so I was maybe reading, the page after of the book to see what's next. And in a gamified experience, in a virtual reality learning experience, obviously, you can go free, and you can really have much more.
That's a great example of teaching quantum physics with virtual reality. It's like entangled particles is very hard to understand just by equations on a board. So that's the perfect example. And whereas a lot of people think, gee, quantum physics is and quantum computers are 20 years away. In fact, the Chinese are already doing quantum communications in China, and it's very interesting and almost impossible to hack. It is unbelievably secure, so it's a big economic potential.
Yeah, it's really fascinating and charming. So I think from a technological point of view, we're really living in a wonderful moment in time. Because when I was a kid, I was reading William Gibson novels like Neuromancer and all the cyberpunk, and obviously even Jules Verne. And now I realize that I'm living in a cyberpunk world where I can do these kind of things, and I'm not, playing Dungeons and Dragons with papers and pencil and throw dice on my table with friends, but I can really chase a dragon giant in front of me. So there is so much potential.
I have a question for you guys. I'm kind of new to this because I've been a regular embedded engineer, and we're trying to do a lot of grassroots stuff here in Tempe and Phoenix. How do you guys select the kind of projects that you work on? Because we've pretty much given up trying to talk to the teachers, because the teachers are basically hampered by their rules. So they really tell me, well, this is all great stuff, but we can't really teach kids anything new because we have to go through this, years long study, and, and typically involves some other company that's making money off the school system. So don't bother. So we're trying to do more grassroots stuff. So the question is, how do you select what kind of projects you work on? Is it just from people you know, or is there like a guiding principle that you want to try out?
Okay, well, me and my company, we obviously split the time that we have for a project that can bring money in, and a project that we just do for the sake of innovation, and that we can obviously sustain with the commercial project. So we will never be millionaires, but we are trying to do something that we really enjoy. And so for us, it's much more easy to get in touch with medical and pharma industries, because they have a lot of budget, and they usually are always on a challenge to stand out from their competitors. Because that, if you look at all the machines for medical lab, you see there are maybe 3-4 companies in the world that are competitors, and they have the same range of product. So the innovation is, it's very similar. And so we try to dig into what are their problems to be the first one in the ranking of a medical company. And we for example, we just discovered that many of them are blamed for lack of customer support, and because and most of them for training, because training is not good, and this because they are real focuses on the engineering part and create the product and sell the product, but they use a third-party company for customer support and technical support. So we just focus on creating something that fill the gap, and we go to them. I usually do not send a presentation because really I'm terrible in creating a PowerPoint and Keynote and in doing a lot of words. So I just ask for 30 minutes of the time to show something. I spend a week with my team to create a bespoke prototype. So if I go to company X, I do something really specific for company X, using their brand, and it's really for them. It's not that I'm selling generic prototype that can work for many companies. So I try to seduce them with something that we create just for them. And this obviously is something that we financiate by ourselves. So we put 1 week of overhead in doing this, but this is a good way to sell VR. I mean, for us is really effective because we do not waste time. Everyone usually, at least in UK, it's really easy to have a half an hour meeting with a decision maker of companies. So they usually find the time. So we go there, we show the prototype, and we try to achieve what is for us the winning moment. That is when they say, what if, or it is possible to do that. So they are part of the creating process. And this is the way we approach clients that can bring money in. It's much more difficult with organizations like school, college, and universities, because the hierarchy is endless and you never reach the decision maker. I mean, you can speak with the people that are they really want to innovate, like the resistance of the teacher, the one that really want to provide the best quality teaching, that are keen on technology. So you go to them. We usually organize like an event, a showcase, where we show what VR can do for them. Always spending some money in creating a prototype that can really fit their specific university type of school. And we usually get a good feedback from teachers and from students, but everything dies when it reaches the financial department.
Yeah, I ran into that experience with ASU here locally, because we were doing a bunch of different projects locally, and they would say, oh yeah, we could do all this. And then when the money guy showed up, they say, oh yeah, everything works in terms of grants. Everybody gets grants to work. That's how we make money. So in order to work a grant, we can write it for you or help you with it. So we get 50% of whatever you get. And then you have to go through all of these other, vendors that we authorize. So it's almost like you're getting a McDonald's franchise and you end up with hardly anything because they take most of it. Yeah. And, they all want to work with you and they all want your stuff. But ultimately what ends up is that the business model just isn't aligned with
it's
anybody.
Difficult to get money. Yeah. If you give for free, they will get it immediately.
Oh, they want everything free. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So what we are trying to do is also to pitch to the financial department. We do 3 different pitch. So let's say for the virtual reality lab for a medical university, when we pitch to the students, obviously our pitch is if you spend hours in the virtual lab, you get more effective and you increase your chances to pass the assessment at the first time. When we pitch to the teachers, we pitch about standing out from the competitors and getting useful analytics from the students. So you really see if they are practicing and if the concept are going through. When we pitch to the financial department, we have the feeling that they really do not care about, what students and teachers need, because obviously they have to get funding. So we pitch about the market expansion and the way they can sell access to new students. So because maybe university, they can have a higher reach in terms of people that want to experience a workshop from Imperial College in London or whatever. And because you have all the content in a virtual reality product, maybe you can sell the access and you can sell a workshop for £1,000, and maybe you can reach 10,000 people that are interested, and you get money that are 100% yours doing nothing, because you are just selling the content that you have, as selling a remote access, MBA or whatever. You can just, obviously, they just want to think about the project as an investment and not just spending money. So we try to figure out some strategies for them to monetize with the product. And also we offer different kind of business models. So obviously there is the traditional offer, like you pay the project and that's it. But also a subscription model. So they pay a fee monthly, and so it's more sustainable, and also they can maybe try for 3 months and they see if it's a good investment. But I can say that we were still not lucky with university and big organizations. So much more easy. I mean, we are not lucky in ask them to fund the development. If we go there with the product already completed and we just sell for a subscription model, I think this will be easier. So our strategy is just to have a commercial project that we use to fund the other project. And we can do that because we are a small company, and I really put myself 100% in running the company in an absolutely cost-efficient way in every detail. So just to give you an example, I was using for 3D modeling Maya for 20 years, Autodesk Maya. But now I moved to Blender, which is free, and you can get the same quality, probably even higher.
Yeah.
And, 3,000 pounds of license for 10 people is 30K that I save, that I can put in research and development. You can take many decisions when you run a company to get your fundings, cutting off the cost. Because if I have money, I prefer to pay my employee more instead of paying the rent of a very expensive office that basically no one of us is working. I mean, most of my teammates before COVID, they were working from Starbucks or from anywhere in the world. And myself, I really hate the daily routine. So I have an office for store my equipment, because, especially VR headset like the HTC Vive, it's not that you really want every day to build up and break down. And I have a lot of equipment, but we do not need an office. We go every time to the client. So we are saving probably 4K every month in renting an expensive office with a giant meeting room that will never be enough cool for the clients, because there is always a company with a bigger meeting room and with an office that looks much better. And so this is the way we get our fundings, because we never try to reach out investors, because there is a lot of work involved in creating all the documents and pitching to several stages to investors. And it is not to say, like British people, it's not my cup of tea. I'm not really good in dealing with investors. So I prefer to generate money with different projects. So releasing games, so you get a stream of incomes from the revenues from the games, and you know, with some conferences and doing some learning project, you know, some workshop for the people. Yeah, I know it's not the most professional approach, but this is the way how we sustain all our experiments and internal projects.
Bill, a while ago, Nolan Bushnell, the founder of Atari, came to me with pretty much that question. He was thinking of putting a few $1 million into game development for schools. And I said, save your money. Don't even think about it. And he stopped. I said, get into commercial training, which he did. I mentioned Walmart. Hilton Hotels is doing training with virtual reality headsets. They love it. One more possible source of support is Oculus itself. I met one of their vice presidents, and they're actually funding training game development. If you're using Oculus headsets, they'll give you the headsets and give you some development money as well. Medical field, like Stefano was talking about, is good. That's making money, so that there you can get in close to you. In fact, the University of Arizona in Tucson has a brand new $230 million center for telemedicine. And they're open to ideas. They're not really part of the university itself. Stay away from them. They'll suck the money out of you, just as you said. So telemedicine is a hot area. Therapy, medicine with VR is a good area, and there are a lot of possibilities there. Doing the grant, I've done grants, many grant kinds of things, and that takes a long time, and you got to be in it for years and years to get into that. The military is hot. Their military is spending a lot of money, and the intelligence services. I've worked for CIA and other groups, but then there again, it takes a little while to get into that community.
Well, it's actually worse than that.
Training, yeah.
It's actually worse than that, because I actually was a contractor for the military, where they actually made me a contractor because I wouldn't want to go underneath another subcontractor. But ultimately what happens is that you got to be in the business of working with the military, where you're spending a lot of overhead just dealing with the paperwork, dealing with all these people, the changes, all of the, you know I'm talking about. If you're a military contractor, you got to go through and learn how all those crazy systems work, all the paperwork, all the reports, just for anything that you do with them. And this is the same thing with the schools. You know, if you're working with the schools, it's almost like writing a book every time, because you got to do these grants, then you got to know somebody. Then they sit there and try to figure out if they can get some of their other buddies to do your work. So there's a lot of so whereas with the commercial, that I'm looking, what I typically do is I say, well, if you're going to do this business, how many decision makers you have to convince before you can get a yes? And that's why we ended up saying, okay, the first thing we're going to do is have some kind of grassroots things where we're dealing with people directly, deal with the moms and the dads, and then deal with people that are out in the street, be able to have some artworks out there, do some VR stuff so that people, just general public, can find out about you, and then percolate your way up. That's what I found out that was because we were wasting so much time working on, stuff that we like to do, but ultimately what was that there was always somebody else trying to poach what you're trying to do, because they have a business model where they're grabbing your ideas and trying to push it in their system.
Yeah, there's one more that I started working on: first responders, fire departments and police departments, for a range of things, both skill training. I worked on a game for hazardous materials, for example, for the New York Fire Department. So there it's too dangerous to do it in real life, so they do it their military. I've done over $500 million worth of programs for the military for that same reason. But first responders right now are having a real problem. For fire departments, we're losing more firefighters to suicide than we are to fires, and the same with soldiers. So the VA, the Veterans Administration, is looking for solutions for that. Sleep deprivation, a whole bunch of things you can use virtual reality on, but stay away from schools.
Yeah, which is sad when you think about that. I mean, most people would think, well, that's school's the first place to go to. But I think that this COVID thing has really kind of pushed everything to be a digital world out in the internet. So that's probably the best thing that's going to happen for our society. I kind of think that this whole COVID thing basically is going to become the second Renaissance.
Yeah, like accelerate digital transformation.
Yeah. They talk about the fourth industrial revolution, but this is much bigger. You know, we're able to create like customized stuff much quicker. You know, we no longer have to, take, a dozen people to go build a VR title. It's just like, like PC boards and 3D printing. What we're doing with VR, I think it's a lot of potential. It's just a matter of getting it out there. Like, for instance, I'm putting together a thing where we will have an art show where people just come in and use Tilt Brush. And then I would create a 3D tour of just like you were doing, like you ever seen, like in Disneyland, you get into a boat and you're just kind of driving around and then you get this experience. So I'm doing like a VR version of It's a Small World, where you get to have like all these different artists and their stuff, which is a completely different experience than a museum where you're just looking at 2D photos.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of stuff that I think needs to happen, is you've got to think completely differently. But yeah, there's no end to it. But I think trying to figure out what the business model is, I think is probably the first thing that we need to help each other figure out locally. We got to act locally and think globally at this point.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and like Stefano said, medical, commercial training, telemedicine, and some of these are hot. They're growing. Telemedicine's going crazy because they're relaxing the rules around it. You can now prescribe medicine online and whatnot. So any products along that line, but stay away from schools and universities.
Yeah, before COVID, I would say that our gold mine was the event business, because event business is the best way for a company to increase cash flow, because events, first of all, they have a deadlines. So you know that this project is going to end, which is which is important, because without a project, you never know the evolution, because you can start with a small project that become a giant, and unless you are really good in managing relation with the customer, there are big chances that you lose all your profit just to retain the client.
Yeah.
But event business was really good because usually the time frame between the inquiries and to see the money inside your bank account is usually maybe a month, 2 months, 3 months, and the budget are really high, and you do not have to create something, exaggerating big. But now the event business is completely over. I mean, it's freeze. But I think that the event business will come alive just in a different way. So before the event business was live and maybe installations, and now the event business will be where mixed reality will really play a big role. So it will be a combination of reality and implementation of augmented reality, virtual reality. So that would be, just a new way to imagine the event business.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing with weddings and funerals, where we would do custom like dresses, and we would like print their dress and put it on the wedding cake, and then we would use DoorDash to send food to people so you could actually attend the wedding remotely. you know, so everybody's like in a hotel room and they all get the food, and then they put on the VR glasses to kind of participate in a wedding. So we've been doing weddings and funerals. But yeah, and so that's really cool when you see that happening.
Yeah.
So I think pretty much everything's going to go online, but you still need the tactile. You still need, you know, interaction with people and all of that. So
yeah, absolutely. I think that, you know, VR and these technologies, they should always end up in something real. So when I think about VR travel, that you can explore the world in VR, which is good because if you do not have money, it's complex to go to Tokyo from London. But even if you experience Tokyo in VR, is 10,000 times better when you finally go there and you smell the, you know, everything, you see the people and you can interact. So these technologies, I think that they should be used to drive the market, to sell the real deal, the real product. But absolutely, yes, as I put down in my slides, I really think that VR, AR, and immersive technologies, they can create bridges between people. And I think this is really powerful because we are living in a world that is always more divided. No? We build walls while we should build bridges. So connecting people is really powerful, as long as we use some ethical approach, because otherwise you can isolate people even more. So, you know, there is a big contradiction because obviously I would like people to stay inside my VR application for hours because they are so happy to enjoy it. But in the same time, I wish that they just, you know, use it a couple of hours a day and not anymore. I still want people to interact in a traditional way. And I surely still prefer to meet people face to face rather than on a Zoom call.
yeah, Zoom is yeah, it's got a limited lifespan the way it is. Yeah,
Yeah, I miss the empathy.
Yeah, one last question I have for you guys is, you know, with Oculus, we're starting to talk to Oculus also, but the main problem is, you know, this whole thing with the Facebook account. And not only that, is they don't want you to hook on the sensors outside of the headset. And all the stuff that I'm doing is about like, you know, interacting with the real world, you know, be able to get feedback from sensors in your phone. So we could do different things. And so we kind of open up that whole internet of things and be able to do all that. And they're trying to control that through, you know, they're trying to figure out how they can control that market. So I'm wondering if you guys have that same problem, or whether you're looking for alternatives to Facebook and Oculus because they want to control everything.
Yes, I will. Well, I really love the device because Oculus Quest, this first one is my favorite VR headset. And I think that the compromise with the level of quality and you know, the engineering part is already, you know, like that. We are finally with a usable device that give you enough resolution and tracking sensibility. But obviously, I really hate the Facebook policy. Just even the distinction between the retail Oculus Quest and the business edition, because I mean I cannot use the Oculus Quest in a kiosk mode with the traditional edition, and I think this feature is something that everyone needs. So that's something that I really dislike.
Yeah, because we're paying $1,000 for a headset instead of $300.
Yeah. And so it's not competitive because no one of my clients for an event will invest $10K for just the headset, but it's much more realistic that they can invest $3K for 10 headsets. So, you know, it's kind of acting badly also from their point of view in terms of using the Oculus for events and enterprise application. And about interacting with sensor, we use a lot of things that we build up with Arduino. So we play with sensors. So
Yeah.
and obviously there is a big limitation because now the only interaction you can have is a call through a web server. So it cannot be really real time, and it's frustrating because if internet connection doesn't work, your project fall apart. So I do not understand what they are so close, from this professional application. And about the alternatives, our problem is that looking for alternatives means investing a lot of money on devices and spend a lot of time on trying to figure out how do they work. There are a lot of cool devices. If I think at the VR range of product like the HTC Vive Pro, so where devices that you plug into a workstation, there is a lot of choice, and I think there are many devices that offer you an SDK more open, and you can interact much better with the device. But the problem is that they are really expensive. So from our point of view, we do not even waste time in looking for these devices, because we know that our clients will never accept to spend that much for the device. We already struggle to pitch a project with a certain technical expenses for events or even for training, because people they really see it like a plus. So most of the time, if we sell a project or we rent a product with a subscription model, we have to cut off from our profit the cost of the device. Otherwise, there is a problem. So it's not working for our company.
I have a lot of problems where people, after the experience, wants to keep the headset. They're saying, "Oh, no, I'm not giving it up. I want to keep it. How much does it cost?" And I go, "Well, I couldn't get any more of these even if I wanted to." So we're actually looking at, have you heard of Project North Star, where you can kind of sort of like a DIY kind of a thing? It's an AR headset.
Still not.
Yeah, I'll put that in the text. But okay, that's all the questions I have. I have to get going, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bill, are you doing any entertainment with your weddings and funerals? Do you bring in singers or entertainers and integrate that with your experience?
Yeah, well, you can get DJs now that are tied in. We just because I post those on spatial computing on my meetup. So we would have like different DJs that are remote. So you could hire any kind of DJ and put it in an experience where they're spinning their thing and doing their stuff, and they have fireworks, what have you. And then we got people doing dresses. We got people doing like comedy. So it becomes more of a show where you're basically kind of running a virtual theater, and all these different people would come in different areas. We're also trying this thing where we would have a 3D simulation of an orchestra, where we would have a 3D video of the orchestra playing, so that it looks more real as opposed to just sounds being played on the audio stream. I don't know. Does that answer your question in terms of how?
Yeah, that's very interesting. So you're not just singers, but actual orchestra fireworks. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing that's amazing is it's not that hard to put together anymore, especially if you can show people who's never done it before and saying, okay, here's tilt brush. How do you want to do it? And they could make up a venue. They could, do anything they want. You can have the kids come in, do their thing. And at the end of the ceremony, you can all that stuff's captured, so that we can say, okay, we can play back your home wedding reception and all the stuff that people have done. And then you can walk through and see what people have done in different areas of the room.
I'd like to see one sometime if I could.
Yeah.
I used to be a part of these things in Second Life, but the animation, that was still, they did weddings, they did all that stuff, virtual dresses, but it was still kind of primitive animation. It sounds like you're you using Zoom or?
No, no, we're not using Zoom. We don't do any of that kind of stuff. We would have
So it's
different video
it really is
feeds.
all VR.
It's pretty all VR. But one thing I
Cool.
should mention is that we tried to do like stuff in alt VR and all that stuff, but ultimately what's going to happen is we ended up having to create our own app to do this stuff. So we have a single purpose app so we can tune whatever's going on. The biggest problem we're finding now is being able to get internet bandwidth out of a hotel or out of whatever. So now we're having to have people like go to a location where there is high bandwidth just to be able to do this, which is kind of ironic. So they would like go to like a library or something, or they would go to a hotel room just so they have high speed bandwidth in its meeting room. So that's, you know, really interesting how that works.
Huh.
Yeah, so, but yeah, but that's a dichotomy, right? About, okay, now what we're limited as far as physical is trying to get good bandwidth so that somebody can run a headset, which doesn't take much, but you'd be surprised how little bandwidth people have left, especially, you know, in residential areas where they say, yeah, you got 10 megabits, but you really only get 1, you know, in real life. So I don't know. Do you have that problem in England, by the way? In the UK, is bandwidth pretty good where you guys are?
Yeah, well, you know, I don't know in the countryside, but the events I had were mainly in London or Oxford, so where you can have high bandwidth. I don't know locally, so maybe people assessing locally from different places, maybe they can experience problems.
Yeah.
But I would say that the bandwidth in UK is quite good, and you have a lot of free hotspot Wi-Fi, so you're never out from a free connection. So in the big city.
So hopefully we're going to try to get some funding on this. We don't have enough money to figure it out ourselves, you know, locally, but it looks like we're going to have our own truck that's got a server that doesn't depend on the outside internet for the events that we're doing. So we could have, you know, a local server that's within the area, and then so we could have like a wedding or whatever, but they'd be able to record it and people add additional stuff so we can all blend it together after this thing. So we can have a whole interface.
Oh, okay.
You know, so we can have a demonstration on.
Okay, I will go out and.
All right. So anyway, okay, we're done here.
Thank you, Bill. That's very interesting stuff.
All right. Thank you. Yeah, I'll send you some updates on what we're trying to do. But I put a link here about the grassroots stuff we're trying to do. So I don't know if there's other people doing that, because I notice a lot of the people that are in these meetups, they just kind of talk about their stuff or try to sell you something, as opposed to, you know, kind of talks like this where we're trying to figure out how to do better business. And
yeah, sure, it's good to, you know, exchange knowledge and find solution, because I think that the market is so big that there is no need for big competitors right now.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you are in the same city. But
yeah. Well, even then, I think there's a lot of collaboration, but definitely not with educational systems. Yeah. So you try to talk to somebody at ASU, they want to know what you're doing, but they already know ahead of time. There's no way they can work with you.
Yeah. You know, I think that collaboration are good because for every market, we find out that you just need to tackle the first client in the market, and it acts as a driver. And then it's much more easy to approach the others, because seems like that everyone lives with the fear of being a follower. Everyone wants to be a trendsetter.
FOMO.
But no one really want to invest in something that they do not know, because there is a margin of risk, obviously. But as soon as your competitor do something cool, they magically find the budget.
Yeah, that's what I noticed. And I think I was trying to, well, once we figure out what we're doing, we were trying to figure out, maybe we're going to have a handbook of saying, okay, how do we have grassroots starter kits for people trying to do stuff like what we're trying to do and try to avoid, you know, the pitfalls. And I don't know, maybe we have to see how that works. But anyway, okay, good. Well, it was nice talking to you guys. I got to go.
My pleasure.
Okay, thank you.
My last 2 cents worth for any app, I found it's always good to assume your customers don't know how to use this stuff and put a little training thing in right at the beginning.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. And that's really where VR, especially with Oculus, really falls down, because they're assuming that the headset you get is just for you, and you go through all this experience initially, and they typically don't explain to people how to do. I mean, look at the instructions you need to go through just trying to join a AltSpace VR or any of these other ones, right? Horizon, Verbella, all of these guys are really complicated, and it's definitely not ready to go. It's not.
Yeah, user experience can be surely implemented in a simple way. So I really enjoy the official application first steps.
Oh yeah, that was really good.
But yeah, I think that we need some kind of blueprint to follow, so to be consistent in the way we teach VR to people, so that obviously we help each other, because no one wants to feel frustrated when they use a new technologies, especially if they use it in front of you or in a big meeting, because no one wants to feel like a dumb. And if they feel frustrated, you know, there is much more difficult to sell the product.
Yeah, it's an initial user experience. It's really important, right? You only get one chance. All right, exactly. I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you.
See you. Bye.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to promote Chris' book. It's called The Road Ahead. It's written by Chris. Yay. Yeah, so yeah, The Road Ahead. Yeah, if you are interested in reading, I find out this is really insightful, and I even bought like a vitamin D3 according to Chris' suggestion for preventing COVID. Yeah, and in here, I remember previously Chris mentioned that the AR stuff, and those are the examples in the book. So if you are interested, feel free to buy it, and I think I share on the chat as well. Yeah,
I should have a copy. Yeah.
Thank you, Dominic. It's also an ebook.
Nice. Yeah, cool. Cool. Yeah, I mean, yeah, any other questions? Cool. Yeah, I mean, I think, I really appreciate Stefano share all the insightful stuff related to VR and related to medical and a lot of like treatment. And I think like recently, like just I can share with you, like actually I've already texted Stefano about it. It's like this Thursday I just find out I went to hospital and exam, and I find out that I got kind of a benign tumor inside my arterium. Yeah, which it's like a 12 centimeter inside that, so it's kind of mango size. So that's why I mean, when I saw all the solutions, I find out, yeah, I mean, I know, because like on Thursday when I went to hospital and did the exam, it feels painful, miserable. And then, yeah, I'm still scared. And I think if this treatment can integrate with VR, then I find out that will be much better. But I know it's not advanced yet. And before I was trying to go online and find out some gynecology doctor, maybe doing remote chat before I go to the hospital, but maybe some consultation, but I couldn't find any remote telemedicine or something. So I feel like everything is still traditional, and I wish everything can be accelerate. I mean, I told everyone, and people just say, just go out and get it out because it's finite, it's fine. But I'm still scared. I mean, yeah, because it's kind of like probably my biggest surgery in my life. So far. So yeah, so I mean, yeah, so when I saw your solutions, I really appreciate that solution. I wish those can be implemented soon. Yeah.
Well, I haven't mentioned, but this project we want to give it out for free to patients. So that's why it's complicated, because we want hospital and organization to pay for the project, because obviously we do not want to monetize patients. But yeah, stay positive, because positive attitude can really help you. And you know, in the end, you cannot predict the future, but if you stay positive, you live a better life for sure.
Yeah. I think stay positive is the best. It's like, yeah. And then right now I'm trying keto. I don't know, because it seems like keto can like kind of like kill, or like, because if like in ketoism, I pretty much reduce the carbohydrate, which because you know all the tumors or cancer cell, those grow because the nutrition's from carbohydrate, like rice, bread. So if I cut that, maybe in the future it won't grow again. So so this week I find out that I'm totally fall into, you know, like usually when I heard of like taking care of yourself, I think, oh, okay, that's kind of old people trying to tell young people like you have to do that. But right now I'm fall into that part. Like before I listen to like business, like all the high tech podcasts, buy all the high tech like books. Right now I switched to buy like keto diet, how to be health. I think
it's important to have a balance. I mean, obviously you have always to think about your body and your mind, because if you have your inner balance, everything it's easier also to, you know, to run a business and whatever. But in the end, business is just business.
Yeah, right. It's money,
it's
you know.
not really important. So focus on yourself, and you know, unless you are a doctor that saves life, it's not that your business is never so crucial for the world. So
yeah, that's so true.
There is a time where you have just to think about yourself, and just take care of that.
Yeah, that's true.
Stefano, I just wanted to thank you and Dominique as well for this meeting. It was very interesting, and thank you, kudos for the medical and other beneficial work that you're doing.
Oh, thank you. It's been a pleasure for me, and I'm really surprised by the quality of this meetup, because I really didn't want to, you know, pitch my company or stuff like that, or to hear other people with a corporate approach. So it has been great to have this share of ideas and knowledge. I think is beneficial for myself and for everyone, because you know, different point of view and exchange and confrontation are the keys to improve yourself and also the quality of your project. I mean, I really appreciate, and I hope we can connect on LinkedIn and stay in touch. So
actually we have Discord in like community. I share. Feel free to join us. Yeah, because we have more than 100 people, and then you can find like today's like audience or speakers, like previous speakers in this channel if you like to meet.
I really want to thank you, Dominique, because for this invitation, and because when I dig into your profile and all the things you're doing, you're really doing great for communicate these technologies to people, and is, you know, these works of communication obviously is really beneficial for everyone. Because if I have to explain something about gamification, instead of recording a video by myself, I can just forward your link. And
because right now I'm doing gamification vlog. And I am, before I just think that, just like you said that, make education fun. But right now, the more I dig into gamification, the more I love it, because my background is UX UI, and I'm doing something, you know, like easy to use, for example, like Uber, like let's say Uber app or some other really big app, like easy to use, right? It's functional, right? That's UX UI. But I find out that we are lacking of motivation. Like game and the UX UI are totally different concept. Game is from point A to point B, and the game designer is trying to put 1,000 tests, trying to hit your limitation and let you to do a lot of unnecessary tests to get to the B point. While UX UI is like A, B, just give me the quickest way to go to B. So they are kind of like the opposite concept. But game, why people are willing to take a necessary journey to beat up all the unnecessary tests. That's the motivation. And after that, I dive into all the psychology. Like I read like 16 personality of like, later on I will put on my vlog. And they are so interesting. And the more I dive into gamification, I find out that actually, if you read Yukai Chu's actionable gamification, you can see like he kind of put people's intrinsic, extrinsic motivation into a kind of like hexagon. And then you can kind of even map different gamification models on top of those hexagons and see why those games are successful. Like everything is so scientific, and I was so scared, like I was so shocked or admired that, wow, actually there's a reason why something is so interesting, and you can find a pattern for it and kind of like make your game or your your gamification intriguing. So that's what I'm really fascinating.
And you develop games, so you know how much complex is to develop a game, if even the simple one.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
It takes so much time and so much work to make the experience enjoyable, so much testing.
Yes, like the fun elements, right? And then as for play testing, it's really hard.
Fun for the audience, because when you create a game, you really enjoy it. It's the best game in the world. But
more like a self-hug. Like I played this and I think this is good, but you need to make your audience happy. For example, right now I'm doing a game for science education. At the beginning, I want to make it like super cool, like AI, VR, AR, whatever you think that's the shiniest technology I want to integrate with it. But at the end, I hire another game developers, kind of like mentor me, because I want to learn the development part. I want to learn 3D. I just want to learn new things. And then I want to make it good. So, and then at the end, we go back to the target audience. Who is the target audience? Is basically we are serving for kids, probably like 7 to 14, 15, like a middle, junior high school students. And then we find out that actually, according to research, it's not good for young kids under 15 years old to wear VR, because it will change their cognitive, because they are not like developed yet, they are not mature yet. So it's not suggested for like young kids to wear VR. So, and then the majority of the device that the young kids, students have is second-hand phone, right? Because their parents always get the best one, and the one that they don't want, just give to their kids. So so that's why before I want to make a super cool VR, like game stuff, like teaching like periodic table, and it narrows down into kind of a mobile game. And then since AR, I mean, it's cool, but if you don't need it, if the game itself is fun, you don't need it, you can actually cut it, because it occupy a lot of space, storage room.
Sure.
So at the end, it becomes a 2D game. But I mean, I feel confident because, in game brainstorming, it's usually like a super crazy scope of work, and narrow it down into the essential and fits to your target audience.
Keep it simple.
Keep
it simple. Also because there is an element of frustration of if your scope is too wide, because you will never end the project.
Yeah, right,
Or,
right.
you will have a different quality.
Yeah.
So you start focusing on everything, and then you develop maybe 60% of the game, and the last 40% you rush because you lack of motivation. You just want to get rid of the project because it's lasting too long.
Yeah.
And you screw up the project. So keep it simple, and then you can always release an update and add on top.
Yeah, yeah.
I
That's
mean,
what
it's good to have a very wild brainstorming, because you open all the doors. So you know that this project can also be an AR application, can also be multiplayer. And so when you develop, your framework, your code, and the foundation of the project, you create all of these future possibilities. So you just write knowing that in the future you can expand it in that way. But obviously, if you keep it simple, it's easier to make it solid and create a good quality project. And enjoy the journey, because in the end, we do an amazing job. And if you turn it into something miserable and exhausting, there is no point. I mean, you can change job and do something.
Keep it simple and keep it short. No one wants to wear a VR headset for 2 or 3 hours. In fact, one of the studios asked for my thoughts on doing a hybrid streaming, that is, having like a TV show, like Netflix, a TV show, and not for the entire show, but just at 2 or 3 points in the show where there's a song or something really emotional, have a link, like put in a QR link to have a short, like 5 to 10 minute VR experience at that point, and then go back to the conventional content, because the entire movie would be too hard for most people to see in with a headset. So do a combination of two. Conceptually, it's kind of like, remember when we were kids, we had pop-up books. Not everything was pop-up. There was like reading, and then for certain scenes, a thing would pop up and be special. So like that, a regular video or TV show with just certain points being in VR.
Yeah, that's interesting. Also because you cannot enjoy a long movie in VR because your battery will run out. Yeah, I see the comfort element. Now it's obviously physical elements, because the headset, you start to sweat, and there are so many level of experience that can bring to something uncomfortable, and also bring the developer to think also at the comfort inside VR. The relationship between space, distance, range of colors. So it's wonderful, because there is so much to explore. So we do not have guidelines and boundaries, but obviously we really need events like that with a lot of developers and creative to just confront our ideas, especially about the user experience, because really we spend a lot of time designing comfort for the user inside the VR experience, because if it's not comfortable, and this was the pitfall of the first roadshow of Oculus, because I remember that they, in Europe, they make people experience a roller coaster in VR, which is uncomfortable for half of the world population, and is really the key to motion sickness even now. And why doing that? Also with a lot of resolution headset like the first Oculus DK. Why choose a roller coaster? And forgive you my strategy about developing comfort. every time I create an event in VR, or every time I create a VR experience for an event, a brand, or whatever, I usually make as a starting point a digital replica of the venue, so that people wear the headset and they are in the same place but digitalized, I mean the digital replica, so they do not have a shock, and they just realize, okay, this is cool, same space, but maybe if there is a sculpture inside the real venue, inside the digital venue, the sculpture is animated and living, so they get the fable. And then slowly I bring them into something more immersive and digital, so they do not get the comfort, they get familiar with the environment. So I also play with spaces. So I usually make them start inside a medium-sized room. That is a place where you usually feel safe. You do not have nothing too far, nothing too close. And when they start to interact and we move to another scene, maybe I play with a wide space, because they already know how to move and they do not feel lost. And I keep a small space just for maybe near the end of experience. Last year I was running an event for the Apollo 11 50th anniversary. Like everyone was running events for the 50th anniversary of the Apollo 11, because it's the perfect VR scenario to bring people to the moon. And so our version of the experience was starting inside the room of a kid that dreamed to be an astronaut. And then it moves to Cape Kennedy in front of the rocket. And just in the end, you are inside the lunar module, which is, a really tiny space. And this way, this process of developing comfort for the user is really important in VR, because now most of the people that experience VR, they experience it for the first time. So you have also the responsibility to provide a good experience. Otherwise, they just stay with the idea that VR is motion sickness, it's just for game, and we need to generate passion about these technologies.
Yeah,